deal. Got to get it done. Too many people dying.
U.S. President Donald Trump with his blunt assessment of what's at stake today. Trump is holding talks in Florida with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the two leaders looking to find a path to peace and end Russia's war in Ukraine. Hello, you're watching CBC News Network. I'm Deanna Sumanak-Johnson. The two leaders spoke to media ahead of their meeting in Palm Beach, Florida. Trump said peace talks to end the war with Russia are nearing the final stages. He also said he spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin shortly before meeting with Zelenskyy. And Trump said he would speak to the Russian leader again after this meeting. Here's more of what he said.
I do believe that we have the makings of a deal. It's good for Ukraine, good for everybody. It's very important. There's nothing more important, in my book. We settled 8 wars, and this is the most difficult one. I thought it would be in the middle of the pack. This is the most difficult one, but we're going to get it done. We're going to have a great meeting today. This gentleman has worked very hard, and he's very brave, and his people are very brave. I mean, what they've gone through, no nation, very rarely has a nation ever had to go through this. So we're going to have a very good meeting today, I think, and I'm also calling President Putin back after the meeting, and we'll continue a negotiation. Pretty complex, but not that complex.
What should we expect in these deals? Deadline?
I don't have deadlines. You know what my deadline is? Getting the war ended. We don't have deadlines. You can do that. Are you prepared to sign security agreement with Ukraine? Well, it depends what the security agreement says. What a dumb question. Nobody even knows what the security agreement is going to say. But there will be a security agreement. It'll be a strong agreement. And the European nations are very much involved in that. They'll be very much involved in protection, etc. But the European nations have been really great. They're very much in line with this meeting and getting a deal done. They're terrific people. I think you can say that. There's nobody there. They all want to get it done, and they've been very supportive, I think.
That was U.S. President Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago, Florida, where he's meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Journalist Ira Spitzer has more on what's at stake in today's talks, including possible territorial concessions by Ukraine.
President Trump, in those remarks there outside of Mar-a-Lago, talked about his belief that both the Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy as well as the Russian President Vladimir Putin want to get a deal done. But what he didn't talk about in any sort of specific way there was what concessions Ukraine may need to make, or that perhaps that Trump would try and compel Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to make in order to change the Russians' position there. And at the top of the list of possible concessions would be territorial concessions of some sort in the eastern Ukrainian region of the Donbas. That is the contested region that Russia now controls about 80% of and would like to control the rest of it. And Ukraine has said that that is a red line for them to give up any more territory, given that Russia has taken that territory and other territory in Ukraine by force. So that's one big question that President Trump and President Zelenskyy will be discussing, is whether there is any more to offer to Russia. And according to the Kremlin, at least, they also weighed in advance of this meeting. And according to the Kremlin, they said that both Russia and the U.S. Wanted Ukraine to make a decision on the Donbas region. Now, President Trump didn't say anything like that, but that is the tone, at least coming out of Russia right now. Also, President Trump saying that he plans to call Vladimir Putin after this meeting with Ukraine. So some questions there about just about the relationship between these three men. But certainly there is some optimism, at least, that this meeting is taking place. This has been a long time coming. There's been a contentious relationship in the past between President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky, exemplified by that tense Oval Office exchange earlier this year. Now, potentially, we're much further along, and they could be talking about the outlines of a deal, U.S. security guarantees, the future of the Zaporizhzhia power plant, which Russia currently controls. So a lot of key issues up for discussion right now.
That was journalist Ira Spitzer in San Francisco. For more on this story, let's turn to Michael Bociurkiw. He's a global affairs analyst and a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. We asked him for his take on the comments Zelensky and Trump made before their meeting.
I was looking carefully at Mr. Zelensky, who I've commented and reported on for years, and I got to say, he looked unusually deflated and pale. Now, as Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney would know, when you go into a meeting with Mr. Trump, you don't know which Donald Trump you're going to get, the aggressive, egotistical type or the peace deal maker. Let's hope it's the latter one for Mr. Zelensky. I mean, it's encouraging what Mr. Trump said. He said that this isn't that complex of a process, that his deadline is getting the war solved. And interestingly, Diana, he said on security guarantees, there will be a strong agreement with the Europeans. Now, that is very, very encouraging news for the Ukrainians because they're very skeptical about anything the U.S. signs on to in terms of security guarantees.
Talk to me about Trump saying that Putin is very serious about peace. What do you make of that?
What a joke. You know, when Mr. Putin bombs day after day after day Kiev, Odessa, where I'm usually based, and other Ukrainian cities, I mean, what kind of partner for peace is that? I listened to Mr. Putin this morning speaking in Russian, dressed in his military fatigues. And once again, he's blaming Ukraine for starting this war way back in 2014 for these ridiculous reasons that Ukrainians were persecuting Russian speakers. I mean, give me a break. So that indicates to me that he has not softened his position, Mr. Putin, and that he, you know, again, as Canadians, we well know how flimsy agreements Mr. Trump signs can be and how unpredictable he can be. And I have talked to many, many other analysts about this, and Mr. Putin seems to have some strange hold over Mr. Trump. One more thing here, Diana, is we did get a little bit of a window into Mr. Trump's thinking. Mm-hmm. He did mention critical minerals. And that goes back to a lot of the reporting that's been done in recent weeks about the negotiating stance of the Americans, that it's all about enrichment, the Trump circle, and enriching America. So, yeah, I think that's what the kind of headwinds that Mr. Zelensky is going to be facing.
That was Michael Bociurkiw, a global affairs analyst and a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council.